Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Tuesday morning. Hope everyone is all right and they're looking after themselves. In this video, we are going to be talking about Romero's interview that came out yesterday that I want to talk about because it's fascinating. Obviously, not like Spurs fans to ever be over the top with everything. We're going to be talking about the game yesterday. We'll also be doing the loan roundup with the players out on loan this week. Obviously, due to the Easter period, there was quite a lot of football on for a lot of these players. So a bit more of an in-depth, longer look at some of those players out on loan. And some really good stuff out of those players out on loan, you know. So there you have it. Now look, let's start with Romero, because that's probably why a lot of you are going to click onto this video, and that's fine. I'm not offended by it. We'll be talking about, look, Romero is a man that is going to have a very interesting summer this summer. You know, he is a guy that has interest from both Madrid clubs. It wouldn't shock me if there is other very big clubs going to be interested in Romero. It wouldn't shock me if Barca somehow link themselves to him, because obviously that they were linked to him a little while ago when obviously Messi was there. So we'll sort of see on that side of things. Obviously 2 years left on his contract. It's a very interesting summer coming into, well, potentially his next move, but he had it with Gaston Edul. And this is a genuine interview with Romero. You can see his mouth moving. You can see how he's looking and things like that. So it's not AI. So we talk about it. He says that we're in the Europa League final and I want to finish the season on a high note. After that, we'll see. My focus is always on growing and looking for new places to continue developing. He was asked, what league would you like to play in that you've never played in? And he says, I need to play in Spain to compete in all the major leagues. I mean, I would say, Cristian, you've probably missed out Germany, mate, there. Germany are quite a big league as well. If I'm honest, it doesn't shock me what was said. It's shocking as to the timing of this interview. You know, it came out after the game yesterday. You know, that was a weird period for it to come out. You know, I know he only played obviously 45 minutes, but it is a bit odd, the timing, if I'm honest. What he said, I don't think would shock anyone either. Look, he wants success, right? He is a guy this season that had some very interesting quotes surrounding wanting success at Spurs, wanting to win things, wanting to compete. And he's been here, you know, multiple years. We've been good for about 6 months of his whole time here. You know, I don't think, I'm not putting it all down on him. You know, obviously, there's a lot of things that have gone wrong in the time that he has been here. My only issue is the timing of it. You know, we're not on the eve of a Europa League game. You know, that's not for another 10 days, but it's come right after a game against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, I know then they put it out there because Spurs fans on Twitter are some of the most miserable human beings. It's not even to do with Spurs, by the way. They're just miserable people 24/7. You can tell. You really can tell. And because of that, they knew this was going to garner more engagement, garner more interaction, garner more money, really. So it hasn't really shocked me on that side of things. But even he said, I've not spoken to my agent and I'll look at it in the summer. I'm focusing on the rest of the season. So what you'll find is the aggregators and the bigger Spurs pages have just clipped a certain amount of it because they know that will garner a lot of negative reaction. Therefore, can make some of that money. The rest of the interview, he very much is saying, no, we've got a lot still to play for this season. We've got the Europa League. I want to win that. We want to win that, you know. And he is honest about it. He says, I haven't spoken to my agent about any summer moves or anything like that. So, look, I'm not really that worried about it right now. He's still talking like, look, we'll look at it in the summer. Let's focus on the rest of the season. I'm in the same mindset as Cristian. Like, I think Cristian Romero is a wonderful centre back. What happens in the summer will happen in the summer. But as he said, I'm focusing on the rest of this season. I'm focusing on the rest of the season also as a fan, you know, and I think so will the higher ups. You know, our summer window is very much linked to Bodo Glimt. And if we go past them, either Manchester United or Athletic Bilbao. Now, Spurs can spend money. Don't be fooled. They can still spend money with or without Europe, but it will change certain things if you are in Europe. And the thing is, we won't be in the Conference League and we won't be in the Europa League. We'd be in the Champions League. That will change a lot of different things. You're going to have way more money from revenue, and they will. I mean, somehow, some way, they'll tell you that there's not that much money, but there is. You're in the Champions League. There's a lot of money in the Champions League. But also players' mindsets. If you're in the Champions League, they're way more likely to want to come to you than being in the Europa League or even the Conference League, let alone not even being in Europe. So that's why I think, as much as we sit here and a lot of people will get up in arms about things like that, I'm holding on to what he said in terms of just focus until let's just focus on the Europa League ties, get to the end of the season, and then review it. I'm the same. I think the higher ups will be the same. I think for the most part, Spurs fans will be the same. You're going to get a lot of people that'll be upset about it, but I think for the most part, a lot of Spurs fans will go, yeah, we've all been saying the same thing. You can't be angry if a player then says the same thing as well. We've all been doing it. So, again, interesting interview with Gaston Adul, which by all means have a little look at it if you and listen to it if you haven't. But like you said, he says we're going to wait until the season's over. He says he's open to anything. He says we're in the Europa League semi-finals. It's an important step for the club, which hasn't reached the stage for so many years. I'd like to win it. Above all else, I take one day at a time. There are 2 months left until the end of the season. I'm always thinking about performing my best. So there you go. I'm kind of putting a pin in it till there, and we'll sort of see how we go from that side of things. Now, look, talking about then playing your best, let's talk about yesterday, because yesterday is a weird old game. Spurs coming out. Spurs probably started this game about 20 minutes into the game. By that point, they were 2-0 down. The first goal is, it's come out from a corner. It's taken a deflection, bounced all the way through a group of players. Vic gets a hand to it, but can't save it. I'm not going to kill. There were some Spurs fans that are going to kill Vic for that. I'm not going to kill it if it's coming through a big group of a group of players. It's taken a deflection as well. It's not an easy one, Don't get me wrong. If it was right at him and he's fumbled it, not good, but it wasn't right at him either. So I'm not going to crucify him for it. I'd probably say Kulusevski could probably do a lot more. He decided to take off running before the ball had even been cleared. And then obviously from there, Elliot Anderson's on the edge of the box going, oh, brilliant. He's just left me alone here. Brilliant. I'm going to have a hit at this. And he scores. So there's that. The second goal, though, I have an issue. It comes from a short free kick. Porro doesn't track the runner to the crossing period. I don't know who crossed. Hang on. Let me a quick look. Who got the assist on the goal? Alanga. He doesn't track Alanga to take the ball in. The ball in is a really good ball in, but neither Romero or Mickey van der Ven is picking up Chris Wood. And it should be on Mickey, to be honest, in my opinion. Mickey needs to be recognizing that the danger is the guy that's an absolute unit up front. He's the danger. It's not, I don't know, Morgan Gibbs White in the air. It's not. It's that guy. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's the danger. And it's a great ball in. I'm not taking anything away from the cross. It's a great ball in. But the defensive setup between not stopping the cross and then that. Because I saw a lot of people going, well, that's all on Vic. And it's like, you've never played football. If you think that is all on Vic, you've never played a game of football in your life. Because we shouldn't be getting caught out from a short free kick. Okay. And by the way, that's not on Ange. That's just on a player being self-aware. And I think Porro had a good game. He had a good game. That is another costly mistake. And this is the thing with the Ekatike one. It's like you had a really good game, but you had a costly mistake, and it is massively costly. And then it's the two centre-halves who decide not to pick up the goal threat of Nottingham Forest. And then it's Vicario's placement. But to be honest, I don't know if he'd even saved it if he stayed on the line, to be honest, because it's an unbelievable header. So I would say everyone can hold some blame there, but I'm not gonna put it all on Vicario because that's just lazy, absolutely lazy, and it's pathetic in terms of analysis. And again, it's like we're going to pinpoint Vicario because he had a bad game against Wolves. instead of pinpointing 3 other people that should have stopped it or done something with it before it even got near the goalkeeper. So look, not good enough on all counts. But to be honest, had we actually had our shooting boots on, we would have won that game. You think with a ball cleared off the line, with Sells apparent I don't know, again, I say it all the time. Opposition goalkeepers love to wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to have the best game of my season against Tottenham Hotspur. Happens most games, to be honest. Happens at least once a month that a goalkeeper has his absolute best game of the season. And Sales had a good game. He was good. He made lot of good saves. Obviously, that one from the Richie's header is an unbelievable save. But we cleared one off the line. Obviously, then Matisse Tell misses a bit of a point blank shot, but he misses a bit of it. I mean, he's got to be hitting the target. You know, he's 12 yards out. You know, he's missed that one. Richie's missed a header from 3 or 4 yards out. Genuinely, Richie, had he had a 2% better game, he probably comes out of that game with multiple goals. I mean, look at these stats. This is ridiculous. This is what I mean when, people talk about low blocks and things like that. Spurs, 22 shots, 6 on target, 70% possession, 7 corners. Nottingham Forest, 3 shots, 3 on target, 30% possession, 1 corner. You know what I mean? How the hell did Spurs lose that game? I mean, looking at the momentum side of things, Spurs' XG 1.87, Nottingham Forest is 0.64. You know, do you know what? I was watching that game and I was like, it's just typical. It's going to be one of those games where we create a load of great opportunities. Our attackers decide that they forget how to shoot at goal and we lose. And genuinely, that's what happens. Obviously, Richie scores at the end, which is good. And I think, there are a couple of positives that I want to talk about on this game. Richie scores at the end, missed a few really good chances, but it was good that he scores. It's going to help us going forward when we do talk about Bodo Glimt next week. It is going to help. Matisse Tell looked very good yesterday. Very, very good. I think now is finally getting solid minutes, but getting solid minutes where we are playing better is massively helping Matisse. And I think he is really, you're starting to see it. You're starting to see the confidence where he scored a couple of goals. You're seeing the confidence. You're seeing match sharpness and match fitness when, obviously, when he came to Spurs, he didn't have either of those things. He's finally starting to have it. And, look, sometimes when you get an injured player, it's next man up mentality. Who steps up? Who is going to try and take that position? And Matisse Tell has stepped up and looks like he's going to try and take Son's position, which is a good thing. As much as we like Son and we can all think he's the best player in the world or the worst player in the world, whatever, I want him to not think I can start every game and chillax because no one's going to take my spot. I want him to look at it and go, holy crap, this kid's really in form. He scored a couple of goals. He's trying to take my spot and in turn should take other players up a level. And I think Matisse looks very good yesterday. It's a few good games in a row recently that he's had. Obviously, scores against Southampton, scored against Wolves. He played well against Frankfurt in the second leg, I think. Obviously, it's not an easy game when you're trying to defend a bit more, but he played well yesterday. And I think he was probably one of our best players yesterday. Obviously, Big Kev came on at halftime, so Mickey and Kuti both start, but they were then substituted at halftime, which was supposedly pre-planned. Davies and Danso came on. So Danso, 45 minutes. That's another step in the right direction. He will obviously start on Sunday, as you would expect, against Liverpool. Obviously, that is the last game ahead of the first leg against Bodo Glimt. So it's good to see Big Kev get some minutes. I thought Jed Spence looked really good again yesterday. I think I'm not putting too much stock in the Wolves game. I don't know who really played that well. He looked good yesterday. He looked good defensively. Going forward, him and Matisse seem to be linking up quite nicely. Let's keep an eye on that. Obviously, Kulusevski got some good minutes. How many minutes did Kulu play? Just quickly. 67 minutes. So Kulu's played a big chunk of minutes, which is good going in again next Thursday. And it's a shame because obviously I wanted to be talking about, Anfield at the weekend and being like, "Hey, I'm buzzing. I can't wait for it." At the end of the day, I'm not really thinking like that, unfortunately, but I'm trying to think glass half full with good, positive football coming out of yesterday. The result's not good. I'm not happy about the result. I don't want people to sit here and think that I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. In reality, in terms of where we finish in the league, it doesn't matter a ton. Look, the higher up you finish in the league, the more money you get. That's something. But to be honest, it is all about Bodo Glimt. So it's can we take some positives from these games? Absolutely. You know, Danso got more minutes. Kulu got more minutes. Richie scored again. Matisse looked really, really good again. Odebear's got some minutes who, I'd probably say Odebear maybe plays on Sunday, maybe. Um, we'll sort of see. But I thought Bergval coming on, by the way, his cameo off the bench yesterday, I think Bergval probably did more in that game than any other midfielder did. And he came on in, let me quickly look, the 81st minute. So in about 15 minutes worth of football, it felt like he did more than any other midfielder on the pitch. So that's another positive. So look, result not good enough. If I'm honest, how many fans were really going to sit there and care? I mean, Twitter would tell you it was a Champions League final for us in terms of how people are feeling, but we did play well. I know some people will hate that because, they hate Ange and they hate the club and they hate everything about it. We did actually play well. We should have probably gotten at least a point out of that game. Should have done. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I tweeted, I said, if you drop these players in the middle of the ocean, the Atlantic or the Indian Ocean, right, and you gave them a penny and said, right, I want you to hit the ocean with this penny. They're standing in the middle of the ocean. There's not land in sight. They will still somehow find land with that penny because they can't throw it in the ocean. That's what they were like yesterday. They were rubbish. They couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. And sometimes that happens. It is what it is on that side of things, but that's where the cookie crumbles sometimes, Again, like I said, not happy with not happy with the result. The performance was solid. Unlike other games like Wolves, for example, where we lost and we didn't look good, that was unacceptable. Yesterday we lost, but we played very well, and we should have gotten at least something out of that game, if not won that game, in my opinion. So it happens. Again, we're looking ahead now to Sunday. Looking at the Premier League, actually, just want to quickly look because Liverpool, can they win the title this weekend? So there's 5 games left to play. They are 15 points clear. 13 points clear. 13 points clear. So they can win the title this weekend. So if they win the title. Which, by the way, I saw Liverpool fans trying to beef Spurs. And it's like, lads, why are you trying to beef us? Bear in mind where we are in the league. Let's not forget that. But also, you're going to win the title deservedly, by the way, against Arsenal, who's second. Don't try and beef us, mate. Look, we as Spurs fans, we're going to want to win every game. And them not winning this game, by the way, let's say if we beat Liverpool, just hear me out. That won't stop them winning the title. They're still going to win the title. Again, if you look at Liverpool and ignore us, away at Chelsea. Let's say they lost away at Chelsea. They've got Arsenal in the league that all they do is win that and they've won the title. So even if they lost the next 2 games but then beat Arsenal, they're fine. So, and they got Palace, they got Brighton. And by the way, what the hell is happening at Brighton? A lot of their fans really, really hate Hurtzler. I'm trying to work out why. I was trying to ask my friend why, but there's a lot of things apparently that aren't good with Hurtzler. I don't really. I know that our fans wanted Hurtzler, but a lot of Brighton fans don't want Hurtzler. So that should say a lot to you if you do want him. Okay. And bear in mind, if you do want him, you are just subscribing to a European younger version of Ange. Just an FYI. Just an FYI. So there you go. So look, moving on. I want to talk about loan roundup because we got some cracking stuff out of this loan roundup. What a time for some of our players, by the way, this week. Now, look, it was the Easter break. Okay, so a lot of them played Friday and Monday, which, by the way, loved that. I stuck the Leeds game on yesterday. It was over in about 10 minutes. Leeds were already like 3-0 up, which is a good thing because I'm going to start with Leeds because I'm going to start with old Manor Solomon. Okay. So Leeds won 1-0 away Friday night with Manor Solomon scoring the only goal in that game. Then yesterday beating Stoke 6-0. He had 2 assists in that game. I mean, we're talking about 9 goals, 12 assists in 39 games, 21 goal contributions, 39 games. That's not too bad. Now, Leeds obviously get promoted, by the way, because of Burnley beating Sheffield United. They are promoted. They are back in the Premier League next season. Now, they are still fighting for the title. Both Burnley and Leeds are joint top. Let me just bring up their championship title, actually, because they're joint top, but their goal difference is much better. Yeah, it's plus 14 on Burnley. So match Burnley's results, you win the title, which is great for them. But yeah, Manor Solomon, phenomenal season. When I talked about, you should be looking to get, 10, 12.5 million from Manor Solomon. I swear to God, if we get anything less than 15 million now, I'm going to lose my marbles. At first, I was like, you make a few quid, cash in. The guy's got 21 goal contributions and missed a big chunk of the season through injury. He's young, multiple years left on his contract. Leeds are probably going to want to sign him because he starts most games at Leeds now. He starts ahead of Ramzani, Nonto, Aronson, and James quite frequently. So 15 million plus the way I'm looking at it now. He's in his young to mid 20s, Premier League proven, had a phenomenal season in League One, not League One, the Championship. If they win, they're coming up, so they're going to have money to spend. Leeds. I'm taking at least 15 million for him. Okay, at least. But there you go. Good result for those guys. Obviously, moving on to Leeds, Stoke, because it just gets in nicely. Obviously, the 6-0 loss away. Ashley Phillips did play in that game, but they did win Friday night, 2-0 win versus Sheffield Wednesday. He played in that game. It's 11 clean sheets for Stoke in all competitions this year. Ashley Phillips, by the way, if you actually log up his minutes from, last season, this season, at the age of 19, he's played thousands of minutes in the Championship. I know we get very excited by, your Vuskoviches and things like that, but let's not completely shun the idea that Ashley Phillips might be able to give you some minutes in the Premier League. Now, will he? I don't know. I expect in pre-season him to get a chance. But if he is going back out on loan next year, it has to be to a good Championship side because I want him fighting for playoffs. I want him fighting, these are the teams that are fighting for playoffs and the promotion spots because it's a better quality of football. He will get better for it. So, Plymouth and Stoke really aren't that. Just saying. Annie, do I see how many goals Burnley has scored so far? Yeah, it's like 3 goals. It's ridiculous, Sorry, on Burnley, Marcus Edwards. Because of their promotion, Marcus Edwards will be bought permanently this summer. Spurs, I believe they're making 3.5 million on the deal. So there you go. Spurs are already making money this summer from Edwards being bought by Burnley. So we'll be seeing them in the Premier League next year as well. But Spurs will make 3.5 million on the purchase. So there you go. Leyton Orient. What a week. What a weekend for Leyton Orient. 2 wins, 4-3 win at home versus Barnsley and a 2-1 win away versus Cambridge. 2 assists and a goal over the weekend for Jamie Donny. Scored an absolute belter, by the way, as well against Cambridge. 46 games, 18 goal contributions from central midfield. That's nothing to scoff about. Again, it's one of those that I think he will get an opportunity in pre-season. Let's see what we have there. But if not, again, when we talk about Ashley Phillips and us wanting him to get a really good loan move if he's not going to be around the first team next year to a really competent Championship side, this is another one. If he's not going to get mixed with the first team next year, he has to go to a good Championship side. And also, loaning him to a good Championship side that's actually going to play him. Because when I talk about Will Lancashire, hasn't really been the loan spell that we'd want from him due to them signing Adam Armstrong as well. But yeah, I mean, League One right now, they're sitting in the last playoff spot. So they would actually play, in theory, Wickham in the playoffs if it finished the way they are right now. But they are level on points with Reading, but they do have a +9 goal difference on Reading. So match Reading's results, and you should be fine. Match winning result should be right because there is technically one other team that could knock them out, but they would need a 23 goal swing. That you know what we need to lose a couple of big ones. Bolton we need to win a couple of big ones as well. But yeah, we'll sort of see on that side of things. Really interesting run into the end of the season for them. Moving on to West Brom and Will Lancashire, 2-0 loss away to Coventry. And sorry, yeah, 2-0 loss away to Coventry. He was subbed off at half time and then played 64 minutes in a 3-1 loss at home to Derby. They're out of playoffs contention now, which is mental because they were sitting in third for such a long time. I believe Mowbray has left as well. Yeah, I think he's left as well. So there is that. QPR flavoured news with Yang. Yang played, he was subbed off in the 66th minute in a 2-1 win away versus Preston, and then played 67 minutes on Monday, yesterday, in a 2-1 loss at home to Swansea. I mean, he's played 14 times this season. You know, I think a lot of us probably weren't sure how his loan period was going to go, but he's playing regular minutes. You know, he's looking solid for it as well. And again, I think it's another one of those that see in pre-season what we have there. But another loan spell in the Championship wouldn't do him any harm if he's not going to get used in the first team or within the first team. Not Mansfield Town with Matthew Craig, played 63 minutes in a 3-3 draw away versus Rotherham, but then wasn't in the squad yesterday for a 5-1 loss at home to Reading. Again, having the injuries that he's had at Mansfield this season, it's not great. They're towards the bottom of the table. They're safe for next year. It's not a problem. They'll be in the League One next year. But it's a weird one with Matthew because I think, you know, obviously having been at not Oxford, who is he at? Who the hell was he at the start of the season? It was Barnsley, I think. You know, it's a tough one because Barnsley probably were doing well for a lot of the season, but sort of tailed off. It's another one of those about that loan period and how that goes. Notts County, 1-1 draw away to Bradford with George Abbott getting an assist and then played 90 minutes in 2-1 loss versus Cheltenham yesterday. I mean, 43 games, or I think it's this season, five goals, 6 assists from central midfield. He's been one of the real good shining lights of our loan situation. I'd expect him to go out on loan next year, but to a really solid, maybe League One side. Kind of maybe even, you know, let's see what happens to Leyton Orient. Maybe he goes to Leyton Orient on loan next season and Jamie Donnelly moves into the Championship, you know. Let's see on that side of things. But he's having a really good loan spell. Notts County are in the playoffs at the moment for League Two. Let's hope that continues and he plays really big, meaningful games at the end of the season. Aberdeen, great result for Aberdeen. 2-1 win in the Scottish Cup semi-final against Hearts. It went to extra time. Dorrington played 108 minutes and then they held on to win 2-1. I do want to just quickly look at who they're going to play in the final. All right, well, who do you expect? It's Celtic. So, look, that's on the 24th of May, so just over a month's time. Again, look, big, meaningful games. He's playing in them, and he's playing regularly as well. You know, so good on him. And 108 minutes, I don't think being subbed off, I don't think it was a bad thing. He's probably knackered by the end of that. Finishing off quickly, Espanyol won 1-0 versus Getafe. Veliz unused substitute. Westerlo drew 1-1 away to Standard Liège. Devine not in the squad. Vuskovic subbed on in the 83rd minute. And last but not least, Johnny Cardoso. He subbed on the 71st minute versus, and this was in the Conference League. So apologies if I've said this really wrong. Jagiellonia Białystok. I think it's a Polish team. I'm not sure. But they are through in the Conference League. Who, just quickly look, who are they playing in the Conference? Fiorentina. Nice. That should be a really good, interesting tie. I think they're both sort of 6th, 7th in their respective leagues. I think that's going to be a good tie, that. He did, though, play last night in a 3-1 win away to Girona. He actually opened the scoring from a header from a corner. Really good header, by the way. It's a lovely ball in, but it's a really good header. You know, as they always say, when the ball comes in, head it from where it's come from. And he headed it back across goal and in. So, look, really, really good week. I mean, Manos Solomon, phenomenal loan week for him. Obviously, 21 goal contributions this season is just magnificent for Manos Solomon. Obviously, Jamie Donnelly, a goal, a couple of assists. Again, really good loan spell. He would probably say he or Man or Solomon have had the best loan period for their club. Manor, I would probably just give it to just ever so slightly because he's in a better league. He's playing for the best team in the championship as well, and he's been one of their best players as well. I know Perot is top of the championship goal scoring league, but that's obviously a massive part down to scoring 4 goals yesterday. Watching them recently, he loves missing a sitter or two. But yeah, I think Manuel's having a really good season. So I'd probably say it's just about him right now, but you never know. If Leighton Orient get in the playoffs and Jamie Donnelly, takes them through the playoffs and they get up into the championship, you'd have to give it to him and maybe Josh Keeley even. So we'll sort of see. I know Cardoso, by the way, isn't our player. Some people wanted to know more about Cardoso because technically Spurs can buy him this year. So I thought I'd just add it in. He's in theory not a loaned player, but I always bring it in anyway because if I'm looking at La Liga in terms of the leagues, or I was looking at Brian Hill at Girona, it takes me a few more seconds just to quickly look at how Betis got on. So that's all. But look, I think some really good stuff out of that loan roundup. Obviously, only a couple more games now left of some of the leagues this year. Obviously, I'll only be doing 2 more loan roundups on Man or Solomon because they're already going to be in the Premier League next season. They won't be in the playoffs. But Notts County in the playoff hunt. Leighton Orient in the playoff hunt. That's 3 teams. Obviously, we'll sort of see about the other leagues and the Lees and Cardoso and things like that. So the loan roundups might look a little bit more bare in a couple of weeks' time, potentially on what happens. Because if Notts County or Leighton Orient aren't in the playoffs, we probably need a loan roundup on about 2 or 3 players. So we'll sort of see on that side of things. But look, no, I think it's fascinating, this video. Obviously, we're talking about Romero and that interview, which is a bit odd. We obviously talk about the game yesterday and obviously the loan roundup. So thank you all so much for joining me this morning, kicking back, relaxing, talking Spurs with obviously a bit more of a level head than what you might have found on Twitter last night, that's for sure. But thank you so much for joining me today. Go and enjoy the rest of your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you are in the world. Please go and enjoy yourself. Look after yourselves. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk a lot more about Spurs. Take care, everyone. Peace.